Hello, everyone. Today I'm going to talk about the do's and don'ts for when you're leading your small reading groups. This is Alicia Swanson from Teaching in Tapas. Before I get started, I just wanted to remind you that I have a live webinar coming up that's called How to Set Up Powerful and Effective Reading Groups with Only 5 Minutes of Daily Planning. I put the link for signing up over in the comment section. It's awesome, free 1-hour class for you that I'll give actionable steps to set them up. All right, so for today, we're going to talk about the do's and don'ts when it comes to leading your small reading groups. So as I go through the list, think about the things that you're doing and pat yourself on the back. And then think about the things that you are doing that you probably can get rid of. So the first thing is you need to keep your group time short. So 15 to 20 minutes maximum for each group that you're leading, because your lessons are targeting something really specific, and your lesson that you're having in your small group should be spilling over into their independent reading, so it can be short. And you're probably meeting with more than one group per day. I meet with 2 reading groups per day. Each reading group is 15 to 20 minutes. Second, do spend most of the time with your students reading and not the teacher talking. So it's happened so many times where there's 15 minutes in a reading group and 12 of those minutes are the teacher talking and 3 of the minutes are when the students are reading. We've got to get rid of that. Most of the reading group is the student. 3, you should be expecting continuous reading from your students. So it's not a good time for round robin reading, and I'm going to talk about that in a minute. My reading groups usually sound like there's a lot of whisper reading. So I am usually walking around my group while students are reading silently, and then when I come to them, I'll ask them to read out loud in a whisper voice to me. So reading groups are not round robin reading, and I'll talk about that why in a minute. Fourth thing is take observation notes of each group. Take your notes about what you see your students doing so that you can kind of use that for your next groups and figure out what you need to be talking about next. So next I'm going to get to some don'ts. So the first don't I would warn against is make sure that your groups are not setting themselves up for the student to be able to recognize what level they're in. So you never want your students to be saying, I'm in the yellow group, or I'm in the purple group, or the caterpillars or anything, because they're probably recognizing that they're in the low group or the medium or the high group or whatever. And even research has shown that kids, even if they're in the high group, when they have a self-perception that's kind of given with a reading group, it affects them negatively. So one way to kind of get around that is to mix up your groups with some strategy groups. And strategy groups would be mixed level readers. So you might have, some low readers and mixed in with your high readers or your ELL readers. And some magic starts to happen. Kids who have always identified as being the low group or the low reader, when they start to look around their group members and see that, that there's some of the kids that they've always noticed are the really good readers in their class, and they're in the same group. Some magic starts to happen with them. The next don't, the second don't, is don't use your reading group time to be assessing. You need to have assessed before your group time, because you have to use those are precious minutes where you're getting to meet in a small group with a student. So you have to use that time to teach and not to be assessing. The third don't is don't rely on round robin reading, where you're just going around the circle and kids are reading one page and then the next kid is reading one page. Round robin reading really only works if you're teaching fluency or a phonics skill, because there's 2 real reasons why round robin reading is not good. The first is a lot of kids get anxious when they have to read in front of their peers. And so if they're feeling anxious, it's going to take away from their comprehension skill. And if you're teaching a comprehension skill and you're having them practice that comprehension skill by doing something that makes them anxious, they're not going to be comprehending and using that skill. So that's why a whisper read is so much more effective. Another reason why it's not very good is a lot of kids don't comprehend when they're reading out loud. And I am one of those people. When I'm reading a text and I'm reading it out loud, I don't comprehend it nearly as well as I do as when I'm reading it to myself. So round robin reading kind of cuts into the comprehension skills, and we kind of need to get rid of it. All right, so yeah, Kelly, I agree. So I'm going to kind of wrap up. For if you kind of jumped in late, I'll just wrap up and say that real quick, my do's and don'ts. Do keep your group time short, 15 to 20 minutes. Do spend most of your time with kids reading and not the teacher talking. Do allow for continuous reading without breaks, just kids are reading text continuously. Do take notes about what you see. Don't get to where students are identifying that they're in the red group or the low group or the butterfly group. Don't do that. Don't use your group time to be assessing. Use your group time to teach. And don't use round robin reading for comprehension skills. So there you have it. If you found this helpful, then you would probably really love my live webinar that's coming up. Over in the comments, you'll see the date and time and the sign up link. You have to sign up to get the link to get into the class. And once you're there, it's going to be a little bit over an hour. It's like an hour and 10 minutes where I'm going to show you everything that I do in my class with my reading groups, how I assess, how I plan my groups, and how I assign my groups. And I can show you how I do it really quickly in a way that you can copy and start to use. So go over, follow the link to sign up, and then I will see you there. Thanks for joining me today, you guys. Bye.